Walking around with the blue card in the silo was like walking around with a big joker at a spades table. Can't nobody tell you. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Episode 8 of season 2 of Silo is here. It is called The Book of Quinn. All right, folks. I have been patient. I think this is the first time that I've truly become aggravated with this show. And it's half and half. It's a 50-50. Everything that's happening with the Silo 18 storyline, I love. It's moving at a pace that I think is deliberate, specific. It's from one point, and it's moving the storyline. Everything that's happening in Silo 17 is moving at a glacial pace, and it has become aggravating. Everything that has occurred in this season of Silo to Jules, our lead character, who's our focal point in the first season, everything that happens to her in this season could have happened in 1 to 2 episodes. We have now stretched this out for 8, technically 7, because one episode basically spent no time there. And we have not moved really from one point to another. And I'm a little upset and fed up. We're in the 8th episode, and this season only has 10. Something else should have occurred. And so one of 3 things is happening. If one of them is happening, I won't be as angry. But one of 3 things is happening. Either A, they didn't have Rebecca Ferguson for much. She may have been shooting something else. They didn't have her for the entire time, so they had to work around her schedule. I don't necessarily agree with that if that's the case, and just remove her storyline from it, and we'll come back to visit her in another season, like season 3 or something, or do half and half. I don't accept that as an answer. 2, they may be connecting these storylines. So whatever happens at the end of this season will sort of re-put Jules back into Silo 18. So maybe they're like, well, everything that's happening in 18 is happening in real time. So the stuff that happens in 17 has to sort of be a little bit slower to sort of get to the point where they equal to each other again. That one I will buy. Or there's a third. They don't have much of a story. And they're telling them the story from the first book, and they're just stretching this out for 4 seasons. I say 4 seasons because they have already been signed off and accepted for 3 and 4, which they said they're going to tell the entire story in that. So they just are stretching this. If it's the latter, that's probably going to make me the angriest. And so I just wish we would have gotten to this point sooner. We introduced characters in this particular episode for Jules' storyline that we could have done ages ago just to get to this point. And so it's aggravating that we get to episode 8 knowing how close we are to the season finale, and we're no more. There's not been much growth or change in what has happened to Jules' character, our lead character, our focal point in this season. That's my rant, my soapbox. I'm going to get off of it. Let's talk about this episode. I'm going to split them in half like I did the last episode. There's the stuff that happens in 17, and there's stuff that happens in 18. Let's start with 17 because it's quick and easy. Not much happens. Jules is paranoid about Solo. She's picked up after she's come out of the water, and restarting the pump. She's following the blood trail. She's following the blood trail up. She grabs the axe, starts making her way up, but she starts hearing like a high pitched whistling sound that sort of is making her disoriented as she heads up the silo. She's following the track that traces the blood up. Still no signs of Solo. She hasn't seen Solo anywhere, has no idea where he's at. And she's looking for him, not so much in care of what happened to him, but more so because he holds the keys to what happens to the suit that she had found and cobbled together so she can get out of there. She needs him to get out. She eventually grabs the rope and heads back underwater. We see shots of her underwater for reasons. It's a bit excessive. It's I guess beautiful to look at, but it doesn't really move the needle for the storyline at all. We could just show her going underwater and coming back up in a different location without actually showing us the whole process of that. It's just a shot. It's one of those shots that actually made me aggravated in this episode where I was like, all right, now you're just playing with me. She comes out of the water and it's like on a little walkway and runs into basically a person with a bright light. The bright light shines her off, so it makes her a little disoriented, so she can't see who exactly is who she's talking to. But they tell her to go away, and she's like, "Look, I just need to find Solo. I don't care what you've done to him. If you harmed him, I just need to know where he's at, so I can maybe find out where he put my suit. That's all I want." And they're not really hearing it. They respond to saying that they killed Solo, and she's like, "Well, crap." Now she has no way of finding her suit. It's like, and then they respond, it's like, "We've killed Solo and we'll kill you too if you don't go away." She keeps trying to push for the suit, and then they shoot an arrow off to her. Now, that immediately clocks off to me that there are at least two people here that are watching her and sort of doing this. We learn that it's at least three. But she's in a bad way. She's got an arrow in her. She breaks the arrow out and then has to sort of retreat to go heal herself. She goes back to a place to patch herself up, put alcohol in it, heal, make sure she's on the up and up, and then she goes back to go find more information to see if she can find out where her freaking suit is. When she goes out, she finds a body, what appears to be a body, with a white tarp over it and blood. She approaches it, and then a scuffle ensues because that those sheets hold a person underneath of them, and looks like a guard, almost like a raider outfit, but not quite. A battle ensues, and Jules eventually gets the better of them. It's a woman under the battle armor. And then two other folks show up who are friends with her, and one of them has a bow and arrow. And she's like, "Look, you don't get off of her now, quickly, we will. You've seen how good I am with this bow and arrow. I'll put one through your heart." That's the end of the story that happened to Jules in this episode. That's it. Cool. Again, nothing really groundbreaking, earth shattering, or moving the needle that much with Jules. We're just moving at a very slow pace. And in fact, this time it's even more upsetting is that we introduced at least three new characters, people who are adversaries to her in 17, but with only 2 episodes left to go. 18 is far more interesting. There's way more stuff happening over there that's just this can sink your teeth into. Bernard starts the episode off by going into Water Pump 80 to sort of hatch his plan into sort of tricking Walker into helping him out. So we see him go in there and start doing his evil scheme to get her on his side. We see Shirley putting Cooper's name on the mural, the name of all the names, sort of memorialize another person who was fallen in a rebellion attempt. She then goes to the cafeteria and sees that Billings is kind of like sitting at the loser table, if you will, by himself. He's still remaining in mechanical. He has not gone back up yet. He's still there, even though he's kind of a fish out of water. He doesn't belong there. But he's also sort of biding his time before he goes back up. He doesn't really want to go back up because he knows, or doesn't know, fears more like it, what is to come if he were to go up there. Shirley chooses to sit with him, just give him at least a little bit of comfort and show that, hey, maybe we can get some eyes off of you. You're one of us. Shirley asks why you're down here, and he's like, "Well, I'm here to protect." And she's like, "Bull, you're afraid of going upstairs." And he's like, pretty much like, "Yeah, that's pretty much what I am." She's like, "Well, while you're here, you should help us." And he goes on and on about the order and the pact. He's like, "Look, if I'm going to help you, I'm going to do it by the law, by the order of the pact." And Shirley just comes down and is like, "Well, look, at what point do you just call the pact what it is and call it BS? Like, all these things are sort of in line. You do this by this book, you do this by this creed, this order, but nobody else is following these rules. Why do you have to follow these rules? Like, you're not going to find any evidence to say that Meadows was killed by Sims and Bernard. You're just not going to. But then that's what happened, but you're not going to find that evidence. So at what point do you just throw that out the window?" And they kind of agree to disagree. And she calls him like, you're just never going to get it. You're going to pull the wool over your eyes. And she goes off while he sits there eating his hard brick biscuits, I believe is what they call it. Lucas goes to Judge Meadows' quarters to go find find a book. He doesn't quite know what he's looking for. He gets there and there are raiders there who are there on behalf of Judge Sims. And they've been asked to take belongings back to judicial. Lucas pulls his shadow card, that blue trump card he has. He pulls it out. He's like, "Look, I'm the shadow, so y'all gotta listen to me. Y'all gotta get the hell up out of here, or I'm gonna make it difficult for you." He starts using this shadow card to sort of bully his way into things, and it works in here. They take off, and he gets his time to sort of spin in the room and do what it is that he has to do. Knox, Shirley, we get a cameo, if you will, from from Doctor Nichols. He wasn't in the last episode at all, but he's back. He's still standing, just rummaging around in mechanical. But they're having a meeting at Walker's to discuss their next plan of action. And their plan to put in place is to attempt a coup and go steal supplies by climbing up the side walls of the silo to get up to the next levels to get to a supply room to steal them and bring them back down. Walker's like, that's a terrible idea. That's just a dumb idea. But she's coming at it from a standpoint of, I think it's a terrible idea because I don't care about this. Like, I just want to find out what's happening to Carla. Can anybody give me information about what's going on with Carla? No? Cool. Then I don't care about this. This is a dumb idea. I don't want to be a part of this. Get the hell out of my room. After she orders them all out, her computer goes live with a message. The message that we learn is saying, hey, a water pump in 90 has gone defective. You fixed this ages ago. Can you return to fix this now? And as she immediately gets ready to go and go do her thing, she meets Shirley as she's making her trek. And Shirley's like, where are you going? She's like, well, I'm going to go fix this pump on 90. Shirley's like, this is a trap. Like, this is a trap. Everything about this seems shady. And Walker is like, no, they promised me safe passage. It'd be fine. Like, this trumps whatever it is that we have going on. This is more important than that. Us being a part of what killed Meadows. The fact that she's that naive to believe that, but she's not naive. She also says that, hey, if it is a trap, I'd rather get locked up and put with Carla than to deal with whatever it is that we're dealing down here. I can just spend time with her and she her, then I'd rather do that. Especially than going on any of the suicide missions that you guys are going on. Sims reaches out to Amundsen and about Lucas Kyle and saying, what exactly is Bernard up to with him? Like, what is he doing for him? Like usual, he knows nothing, but this time he actually doesn't know anything. But he does say that if I did know what was going on and what Bernard wanted with Lucas, I wouldn't tell you. And Sims says, look, I'm the judge, so you report to me. And Amundsen's like, that's cute. Because when you were at my position, when you were here, did you ever report to Meadows? Ever? Other than on paper. Like, that's what you do as far as like the ranking, the way the paper says that's who you're supposed to report to. But did you ever do that? No? Cool. Then kick rocks. Lucas's trail leads him to going down to meeting a man named Terrence Penbrook, who is a descendant, long descendant of Salvador Quinn. After sort of getting stonewalled at first, he uses that blue card again. He uses his shadow card to get in and have a conversation with Terrence. And they basically blow him off. He comes off a little harsh, a little too hard, and he uses his thing to say, basically, look, I'm here to look for a book. If you don't give me the book or give me the access to look around and find this book, I'm going to get some raiders down here to go look for it for you. So I think you would rather do it yourselves than that. I'm going to go get some coffee. You guys figure that out. It's a tough guy act. That isn't really believable or come off particularly well. So Terrence follows him as he's leaving. It's like, look, we don't believe you. You're putting on this tough guy act, but I can tell this isn't you. Most people who are tough guys don't use nearly as many words as you do. They just act. He says, we don't have what it is that you're looking for. We are wool makers solely because being the descendants of Salvador Quinn, we have a debt to pay to the silo. And so we are forever indebted to them. And this is just the life that we've been led to lead. So Lucas returns to Bernard with the update of saying, like, hey, I don't have anything. They're simple descendants of Salvador Quinn and who was a failure to the silo. And Bernard stops him right there, like, no. Let me be honest with you. That is a story that we have led people to believe, led people to accept. But Salvador was very much a hero to the silo. The silo would not be here or survive if it were not for him. He lets him know that every 20 years a rebellion was happening, like clockwork. Like it just happened every 20 years. History sort of repeated itself, kind of like history sort of does in today's era. Salvador thought ahead and said the only way that's going to actually stop this is if we can sever the ties to like servers, history, just previous knowledge. If we can cut those off, we might be able to stop these rebellions from happening over and over and over again. So that's why he destroyed all the servers. That's why he confiscated and burned all the books. Why he confiscated all the relics. Like we're going to remove and take away all of the history so that you guys just don't have any of that information, and you just become acquainted to the life that you're living without the thought of ever rebelling. He also mentions that Salvador was responsible for a chemical compound that's put in the water that erases memory. So what we saw earlier, which I sort of talked about at the very beginning, which is why I thought may have occurred, is that the thought was, hey, let's put this water administration in it that's going to erase people's memories. And it doesn't do it the very next day. You're not having big chunks, but over a period of time, if you're taking this water and drinking this water, being one with this water for a long period of time, you will lose your memory. And so with all of that, the consequence has been 140 years of peace until now. And so Salvador was sort of wearing the cape of being the bad person here, but he actually did what was good to make everything work. It also goes to show you that anybody who thinks for themselves or has things outside the box a little bit, if they have their mind opened up a little bit, it can open up Pandora's box. They can go down this history lesson, and it just, when you satiate for history, satiate for understanding where you came from, life, what else is out there besides what you have, it can be overwhelming, sometimes all encompassing. I also wonder that if Meadows being so gung ho with alcohol may have had a counter effect on the water supply. I wonder if that had anything to do with why she was so um, open and adept to learning and knowing what else was going on out there. The alcohol helped her out, actually. Pastor Kennedy is on the mend, and Kathleen Billings brings him some food, and in that he mentions the flyer that Billings had that showed him about the trees and the life outside, the world outside. She feigns that, yeah, I knew about that, but we all know that she didn't. She was very ignorant to that, had no knowledge that her husband was walking around with that image. Camille meets with Amason and tries to connect with him on this, hey, you and your wife used to come to hang out with me and my husband and have family dinners and or couple dinners, a double date with us. We were close. She tries to get in her Iago bag and sort of whisper sweet nothings of like, hey, you and your wife are now expecting a kid. If you want that kid to be safe, we need to change some things about how we're doing things here in the silo, because it's not safe out there. It's hard out there. We need to figure out why Bernard is so gung ho with Lucas Kyle, a guy who 2 seconds ago was busting rocks in the mine. We need to figure out what it is that he wants from him and why it is that he is so important to whatever he needs. She says, my husband has the best interest of the silo at heart, as do I think you. We need to track Lucas, put a tracker on him, and see what it is that he's doing for Bernard. Thomason in that moment kind of just says, no, I'm not doing that. But he eventually does set up a tracker and watches him. And he sends Sims a cryptic note through a computer about basically meeting him in the garden. And he gives him the information that says, hey, Lucas has gone from Bernard to Pembroke and back, and is now looking at a book of Quinn's, of Salvador Quinn's, for some reason. Why, I don't know. I don't have that answer. And Sim's like, cool, that's good work. I appreciate you doing this for me. Thank you. Continue to follow him as he goes down. And I'm just like, hold on, real quick. I didn't do this for your wife. I did this for you out of respect for you because you were once my boss, and I'm doing this as a favor to you as a one-off. This is not a continued thing. So if you want other things about Lucas and you want to follow up with him, you have to do that yourself. But I'm out. You're on your own, kiddo. It's good to show that people, when they take a position, not everybody is willing to bend over like Meadows was or like Sims was. Some people have enough. Like, that's my breaking point. I'm not going to give in or acquiesce to you about everything. Enter Walker, who folded like a cheap suit. So Walker goes to fix the pump. Nothing's wrong with the pump. Works right back up to normal. And then Bernard shows himself. And Bernard says, "Hey, I just wanted to see you. And I know you wanted to see me because you turned the camera on." She's like, "Well, nope, that was a mistake." She's like, "Well, you wouldn't even tried it if you didn't want someone else up there to see you." And he's like, "I want to negotiate with you." The negotiations basically wrap around like, "Hey, if you give me information that I need, I will let you see Carla to let you see that she's fine. If you don't, then I will inflict more pain on her than has ever been inflicted upon a person, and she will suffer, and I will put her through pure hell." It's like, I need you to tell me what it is the next step that the folks in Mechanical are going to do. That way I can have at least some type of a leg to stand on, and an actual fighting chance against them, and a shot of getting things back to normal. So she gives them the information about the supply run raid that they were going to do, just to get a chance to go see Carla. Billings returns home to go to Kathleen, and Kathleen questions him and checks him about, "Hey, you didn't let me know that you had this thing." It's probably my favorite scene of this episode, because it's an actual human moment for Billings and a human moment for Kathleen, in that they just don't know what they don't know, and that's scary and it's frightening for both of them. Kathleen just wanted to see the image. Like, just show me this. Like, you telling me that there's a world that it has existed where there were trees and there were kids and there were puppies and there was sky and all this stuff, and you had access to that and you didn't let me know. Don't hide this stuff from me. Like, yeah, it may be dangerous, but you have it. I want to know about it. Um, she's like, "Okay, I will let you know from this point on." She's beside herself. She starts crying. He starts crying. She's like, "Well, what does this all mean? Like, what is this?" And Billings like, "I don't know." He's like, "I don't know what this is." And then he's also, "I don't know what to do." It's a very hollow feeling to know that for Billings, for your entire life has been packed order, packed order, packed order, judicial, follow the rules, follow the law. And now you know that none of that matters. It's all been a facade to sort of hide what truly is out there. And now whatever makes you up as a man, whatever you sort of created is who you are, or what makes you you, is a lie. It's it's hard to get that sort of broken open for you, and sort of, now what do you do next? Because damn. Lucas returns to Terrence's house, now using sort of a different approach. It's kind of like, "Look, I'm from the bottom, just like you guys. Like, I'm from the bottom ranks of the silo. I This badge just came to me a couple of days ago. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with it. I overstepped and overused it to try to prove a point, try to like seem like the tough person, but this isn't who I am." He's like, "I'm nothing special. But who was special was Salvador. He was the hero." And they don't quite. Brandon, who was also the third person in this room, is kind of like, "I knew it." Like, stories have sort of been told, but Terrence is like, "You're trying to blow smoke up my butt." He's like, "No, he was a hero. He did these things to try to help the silo. And I can't tell you how I know that or why I know that. I can't give you that information, but I need you to just trust me." I know that seems like a far-fetched idea for someone who just came here trying to like strong arm their way in, but I need you to trust me on this one. I think the only reason they do is because this scenario has happened to them before. Meadows came in way back in the day when she was a shadow with a blue card, coming in and saying, "Hey, I need to trade you something to get a book." So they give Lucas the books that um, Meadows traded to them, and he asked them, "Well, what did you guys give Meadows in return?" And they're like, "Well, we gave them the book, the packed book for Quinn. That's what she received." So he knows, now I have to go back to Meadows' office to go decipher. The book that we're looking for is Quinn's pact, his version, his text, his version of that. Mechanical attempts their supply run theft. They're climbing up the walls. They're ready to go in, and raiders are in place, ready to arrest them. No one's killed, at least not that we see on screen, but they are arrested, and everything is sort of foiled. Thank you, Walker. You have just thrown all your people under a bus. In return, Bernard does take Martha to go see Carla, but it's only through a slit in a door because she doesn't get to say anything to him. He's like, I said you could see her. That's it. If you continue to feed me this information, I will continue to let you see her. Nothing, no harm will come to her. If you don't follow these rules, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to harm her, and I'm going to make it pure hell for her. But if you want to continue to have these visits, continue to have these one-on-ones with her, then I'm going to need you to do a couple of things. I'm going to need you to turn that camera back on in your room. I'm going to need you not to leave that room. That's where you are. That's where you stay. People come to you when they want to have a talk, conversation, dialogue. They're going to come to your room because I want to see everything there with that. Keep feeding me intel. If you keep feeding me intel and I keep being fed, no harm will come to Carla. So he's kind of just now got her on a string and now has his way in to help him and give him some eyes and ears down there on mechanical. Because before he's been going blind and it's just bothered the hell out of him. Martha agrees to the deal. So she is now sort of the spy and stooge for Bernard. Lucas returns to Meadows' chambers and finds the Quinn pact, and he gets to work. He starts doing his thing, starts figuring stuff out, and basically he gets deciphering a code that says if you've gotten this far, you already know that the game is rigged. Billings is just now getting that eye opening for him. It seems like Salvador had that happen for him way back in the past as well. As he leaves Meadows' place, Sims confronts him, and Sims is like, "Hey, I'm going to need to look to see what it is I don't know why Bernard has you doing what it is you're doing, but what do you have on you?" And at that point, Luke's like, "I'm a shadow. I have a blue card. You need to back the hell up off of me. You can't just come up here and start on me." And Sim's like, "You must not know who I am. I will do whatever the hell I want to, sir. Like, F you." But then he chooses a different approach. He chooses the approach that Camille kind of said, like, "Look, let me play all sides. Let me get on the good side of everybody so that when I do make the final decision and choose to get behind a horse, I choose the correct horse." He searches him and he finds the pact, but he doesn't know what it's doing, what's being deciphered. He doesn't have the key, if you will, to figure out why that pact's important. Lucas tells him that the mayor wanted it, and so he's bringing it back to him. He's like, "Okay, cool." It's like, "Look, I don't know what Bernard wants with you, but I'm going to tell you this. He's an opportunist. He is always 4 steps ahead of you. And when he is done doing whatever it is that he is planning to do with you, he's going to throw you back into the mines. Just like he has sort of discarded me, now that I have no more value to him, he's going to do the same with you. It's going to be good for you to have friends in other high places so that you are protected." And he sort of takes off to leave. And at that point, Sims then threatens him and says, "Yeah, you know your mom on 85? I know about her. She won't be well if you continue down this path." And so a little light threat, in addition to saying, "Hey, I can help you if you need me to help." He is not nearly as fine-tuned and able to finesse as his wife is, and getting in good graces with people. He's not Diaco. He comes in like a hammer. Like, I'm gonna threaten you, and then when I'm like, "I'm here for you, but I'm gonna threaten you again." That's not how shit gets done, Sims. Sorry. While pouring herself a drink and sort of realizing what it is that she has done, Shirley comes in to talk to Martha and like, "Hey, look, somebody was on to us. That team, Teddy and them, they got popped, got arrested." Martha asked, "Did anybody die?" She's like, "As far as I know, no one has been killed, but there's a snitch. There's a snitch in our midst. I don't know how they would have that information. It wasn't like we said anything or talked about it at length." Martha's like, "Well, okay, got it." And she sort of pushes. He sort of gets a weird vibe. Shirley sort of clocks that Martha's not acting completely herself, but she does leave after asking her if she's okay a few times, and she leaves. And then we see a shot of Bernard watching all of this on his camera from his room. And he gives sort of a thumbs up while Martha gives her the other thumb, the other fingers. And that's how this episode ends as a whole. Again, as I have said before, everything that's happening in 18, I love. It's giving me story beats. I love Billings basically being, put it in Matrix terms, Billings is being unconnected from the Matrix. And so now his eyes are being opened to what the war really, truly is. Bernard has his little hooks in someone down in mechanical, so now he'll be able to see what's going on. I don't think Shirley is that dumb. I do think she's eventually going to realize that Walker's been compromised, and eventually probably try to feed her some information that's wrong. See those people get caught, and then kind of like, all right, Walker isn't. While she may not be a person that's bad, she is now in a bad way. So we can't be around her, or we can feed her stuff incorrectly to sort of set them up. And I think the Sims Camille piece of them just trying to play everybody and see where they can fit in enough to close the door and kind of be the overall. I think when this is all said and done, I feel like there's no way that Camille more so than Rob, Camille and Rob are going to be on top of sort of the food chain in 18. The stuff in 17, I don't care about. I'm going to just be honest with you. I don't care. Either give her the suit or don't. Like, we've been here long enough now that I'm done with this. These new people that are arrived are more so of a nuisance. Like, I didn't go 7, 8 episodes of not seeing you at all this season to all of a sudden adding 3 new characters and me supposed to give a damn about them. I just don't care. So I am now at the point that Jules either needs to get the suit and get back to it, or we just need to stop going to Jules until we decide that we're going to spend some actual time and tell an actual story. But those are my thoughts on episode 8, the Book of Quinn for Silo season 2. What did you guys think about this episode? Am I being too harsh on the stuff that's happening in Jules' world? I don't care now. Like, I cared very much at the beginning. If you follow these videos along those first 4 episodes, I wanted to see where we were going with that. Now, I don't care. 18 is where the meat of the story is happening. We're going to leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the place podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.